All right, simps and beaters, it's time to escape the Matrix. No, I'm leaving it on. Hang on. It just looks so cool, doesn't it?
A better you starts today.
Yeah, so Fedora's on. We are going to be talking about the fall of masculinity. I'm sorry, the hat's on. Now it controls. And look, when we talk about the masculinity problem, don't you think that a lot of the time when you listen to the podcasters that do endlessly discuss, where men, what's the men problem? What's going on with men? What does it mean to be a man? I honestly think that a lot of them are missing these two primary biological facts, right? First off, men have penises. That's the first one. But the other two, so there's three, just like the balls and the cock right there. So let's go with the two testicles now that we've got the penis one out of the way. Testicle number one is that men definitely need to feel useful. That's the first one. Men need to feel useful. Write it down, simps. Just by doing that, you've officially graduated from Friendly Geordie's Hustlers University, which I've got my own Patreon. You can check it out. I think that it's better than Andrew Tate's, having never been on it. And then the second one is... I look like such an idiot! The second one is, not only do men need to feel useful, but men need to have goals. All right, look, I know that you've probably clicked off just by hearing the word goal. Please hear me out. I've got a slight variation on what I've said 1,000 times before. Please listen to that. But first off, let's just go through the useful thing. As soon as you say useful, and then you say that, and this is an old phrase that you hear in relationship books over and over again, which is that men need to feel useful, women need to feel included. These are the two dynamics of the genders. And it all goes back to evolutionary biology, where it is that women used to stay around at the campfires. They would be sort of the political class that were making the consensus of who the alpha was, how resources would be distributed, who to trust, who not to trust. That was their thing. This is why they are wired with double the amount of social receptors in the brain that men are. And then men have double the amount of spatial awareness, all that kind of shit. It's like map reading stuff. And why is that? That is just your brain being geared towards goals, being geared towards usefulness. Because if you weren't defending the tribe, if you weren't hunting for the tribe, well, you weren't reproducing for it, were you? This was before men could give birth. I don't know what's happening this day and age, but before that, wow, this really is a story about, it's going to really appeal to people that like the idea of clicking on a masculinity video, isn't it? But the second thing is, if you weren't contributing in those ways, if you weren't building a hut or something, then you were fairly useless. You don't really deserve any food. This is hardwired into your survival. Much like it is hardwired into women's survival to feel included. Like if they weren't socially intelligent, well, then they could end up marrying a psycho or a dropkick that would just leave them with the kid. Or the other one is that they could just be excluded from the other women and then they would be denied of their resources. That's why that little bitchy circle that you see in high school, just, it's still there. Them sitting around a circle, exactly like they would have been doing back in the day. Weaving little bits of grass together, eating berries, which I'm sure they still do, with their little acai bowls. What's wrong with a man's breakfast? Oak! So, that's at the core of what is being a man. Do you think that in this modern day and age, where most men are, just by definition, quite useless, because to be useful in this day and age, you kind of have to have more advanced, nerdy capabilities, or, you know, be Spaniard, there's that. But most of the time, you can't just be a really famous lad. Most of the time, you really need to learn about computer science. That's how you have to learn to code. I'm getting the bingo. I'm getting the bingo of the chud, like, whole sayings of it. And by the way, I don't know why I said chud. I think that's extremely cringy. Bad, Jordan, bad. But that is what's happening. That's what's happening now. Most guys, you can see it in Japan with the whole lock-in culture. When they realize that they aren't useful, they retreat into themselves and they become your little neckbeard man babies and you're... I really need to get the bingo card going. Incels. You become your incels. And I think that this all comes from the fact that they feel useless. They can sit there and they can blame broad social trends. You can sit there and blame the education system. But at the end of the day, it's really weird that a lot of these videos seem to simultaneously say it's all society's fault, but also practice responsibility. Yes, those people that say all of the like cuck shit, they are extremely annoying. But I think after 2 Trump elections, we have well and truly repudiated that. Like, we won that argument. Yeah? What's still remaining is the fact that you generally feel like you are left out of society, which is another thing that's really weird. That all this are like, we're just left out. But yes, the whole thing is, it was never ever supposed to be easy for a man. Never. It was always supposed to be you were the ones putting your life on the line to defend the tribe. You were always the expendable one. You know? The way that you didn't make yourself expendable was that you became extremely valuable. And that requires a lot of investment in yourself, which is why you should sign up to Jordan Shanks. I'm telling you now, if you don't, you're an idiot. It's only a few... It's better than Hustlers University, I'll tell you that, having never visited it. This is the same concept, though. You go there, you get some lessons. It's just stuff that I've read throughout the week that is self-help related. And then that, I'm telling you, just having someone in your ear constantly saying, do it, go further, push for goals. If you don't have that, I'm telling you now, you don't. Every single time that I've ever stopped listening to self-help, my life has regressed. Every time I start listening to self-help again, I'm on the up. I'm on the up. I'm radically changing my life. Why is that? Because you need someone constantly telling you, you have potential that you are not tapping into. You need that. That is as important as oxygen. Well, a little bit less important. It's a little bit less important than food and water. And with this, you can get more food and water. So I really do think that you should sign up. Personally, no biased intent there at all. But, this is with this hat. Look, it was never supposed to be easy. It's a very hard road. There's a lot of hard things about being a woman, i.e., domestic violence and the R word. There's a lot of bad things about being a woman. But one of the bad things about being a guy is, you are the sort of superfluous one. Like women naturally, just because of the inclusive thing, they're kind of just biologically better designed for this day and age, where there is no real external threats anymore. That's kind of just been mastered a lot, thank you very much, to man's intentions, building a society that is safe and organized enough for that not to be... We kind of made ourselves redundant in a way. But not necessarily, right? Like, you can still get that useful feeling. You can. And that always comes from setting up goals for yourself. And the best way to get those goals is to go through the 6 human needs, which we've talked about before, but Tony Robbins endlessly talks about it. You can go through them, check them off. Which of these 6 human needs am I fulfilling with my goals? That's always going to make you feel like, yep, this is the direction that I move into. However, when I say set goals, everybody at home, and this is the new part, everybody at home, when I say you should set goals, you go, oh, I've heard this before. Yeah, I'll do it tomorrow. Yeah, I've got my goals in my head. Here's the new variation. Here's this nice new little study that I've read recently. Guess what? Goal setting is all well and good. Goal setting definitely works. This is a great stat. If you write down your goal, you are 10 times more likely to accomplish it. If you have goals, you are 1,000 times more likely to be satisfied in life, because people who don't have goals, I love this saying, are destined to work for those that do. If you don't have goals, you are destined to work for those that do. You just become capital in their goal and in their vision. And look, if you are part of like some organization that has like a great vision, that's awesome. But you should be setting your own goals within that organization to move that organization forward. Yeah, this isn't rocket science, this part. Absolutely, goals are great. The problem is people are often intimidated by goals. Now, why are they intimidated by goals? It's because they are always, just by definition of putting the goal there, you have to think and project into the future. You have to think of a you that is doing far better than you. And the human brain gets stressed out by that because immediately it starts thinking, but I'm not that. And if I did become that, that would require a shit ton of work. Here's my argument to that every time. It honestly takes more work to be mediocre than it does to be exceptional. Why is that? Because if you are mediocre, you are expendable. You are not valuable. You are, oh my God, let's move into the male psyche. Let's really hammer this in. You're not going to like it. You are useless. You are useless if you don't have these. But the problem is that when you do write them down, it feels intimidating, doesn't it? And because it feels intimidating, you don't want to act on it. In fact, a lot of the time when you do write down a goal, you start procrastinating and you have that there, and then that just feels like this weight of guilt. And that's a big reason why a lot of people don't write down their goals, because they haven't imprinted into their head that, hey, if you don't achieve your goal, you've moved a hell of a lot further to it. So if you have the goal of, I'm going to make $1 million in 6 months, but instead you only up your salary by 20,000, you still up your salary by 20,000. You should be celebrating that. Okay, you didn't get your far off outlandish goal, but you got a hell of a lot closer than you would have if you didn't. Your life is a hell of a lot better because you put that goal there. And guess what? One day you will achieve that goal. Mark my words. If you keep thinking about something, you start blocking out all other realities and you start moving towards it, because that's how the brain is designed, especially the male brain. What we lack in social intelligence, we definitely make up for in overcoming obstacles. The male brain is designed to build and kill. That's what it's designed to do. And it's because it narrows in. It's really good at that shit. So, that's one aspect. Goals are really important. Goals are also intimidating. How do we get around that? I honestly think it's just changing the language of it. Changing the language to, I'm going to move in this direction from now on. I was walking this way. Now I'm going to start walking this way. Oh, that's a way better view because I've got the island and the beach there. This is a way better direction. You can move in a direction for the rest of your life. In fact, you making a very small decision after this, which is pretty much just to write down your goals. What is that? That's moving in a direction. That's it. That's all you're doing. You were walking this way. Now you're walking this way. Guess what? Guess what the new research is? When you tell students you are going to move in the direction of getting an A, as opposed to telling them you have to get A's, what happens? Okay, high achievers, they're going to get the A. They write down the goal. They're not as intimidated. Oh, I can't imagine myself doing this, because they are sort of an A student anyway. And so they are able to achieve the goal. It definitely helped the students that were dumber to say, write down goal, you're going to get an A. That helped. Guess what helped more? Saying you are going to move towards the direction of getting an A. You are just going to move into the direction of doing a little more study when you get home. You just have to study a little bit when you get home. You don't have to even get the A. You're just going to move towards the direction of getting A's. Their average test results went up by 20%. Whatever they were getting 20% more, purely by changing the mind frame of that. So maybe instead, if you are one of these people, and this seems to be like 97% of the population, people that aren't high achievers don't like setting goals. That's why they're not high achievers. But if you start writing, I'm going to move into the direction of X. I don't know what it is. I think that you should write it down. I think that you should sign up to Jordan Shanks. And I think that if you did sign up to Jordan Shanks, you would move into the direction of where you were going a hell of a lot faster. It's just how this stuff works. It's just like if you want to play tennis, get a tennis coach. You can play tennis by yourself. You're just going to be worse at it than if you had the coach. But anyway, I think that you should write down what directions you want to start moving in life, because you also need to understand this. Every time people do write down goals and they aren't immediately at their goal, their brain says, you're a failure, you're stupid, what the hell were you thinking? You're not achieving this. When you are moving in the direction of it, what's happening? Endless positive reinforcement. Yeah, I did move in that direction today. Basically, what you have done is kind of trick yourself into like every little step that I move in the right direction is a goal. And if you notice this, a lot of the time people always say, all right, I set out my goals. I am moving towards them. It's 6 months down the line. I still haven't gotten it. I'm a failure. And then they honestly, a lot of the time, a big part of the psychology is they are not celebrating the small wins along the way. Like, there are goals that I have. I'm not anywhere close to accomplishing them. Am I more close to accomplishing them than I was a year ago? Yes. Yes, I am. If I go back and look at the goals that I set myself a year ago, there's always that thing of like, okay, I need to start moving in that direction. I didn't realize there was going to be this many obstacles. Okay, well, let's just go through this one. Let's crawl under this one. You have to go through all of these different setbacks because you are moving in that direction. And all of those setbacks make you feel like you are not going and progressing in life. It makes you feel like you're doing worse than what you are. When you say that you're moving in that direction, you look back and you say, no, I did undergo that obstacle. I did jump over that ledge. This is a radically different way of looking at something that you should be looking at all the time, which is goal setting. The key cornerstone of self-help. This is the way to get better results, because this is a big theme on the Patreon, by the way. A big theme at the moment that we're constantly talking about is that gap in the game mentality, which is that a lot of the time, most people are constantly thinking, I don't have X, I'm a failure. Whereas we know from psychological report after psychological report, the people that focus on the game, that I am one step closer to where I was the day before, they're the ones that keep going. They're the ones that make mammoth progress because they're measuring and enjoying and celebrating every step they take. Anyway, that's my TED talk on being a man.